Hello and welcome back to the ME7 podcast. As you can see, just at the bottom of our screen, below me and Owen, we're joined by a man who, across 4 spells, played for the Gills 112 times, scoring 12 goals. Unfortunately, that career was cut short down to medical issues that we're going to get into later on in the podcast. But his career was definitely cut short. A real talent in the Gills shirt across the 4 spells. We are today joined by Olly Lee. Olly, how are you, mate?
I'm all right, thanks, guys. I'm all right. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Owen, it's good to get Olly on and speak about his Gills time.
Yeah, definitely someone who's obviously been renowned for Gills fans for the past 2 years. Obviously, very upsetting how it ended, unforeseen circumstances and things like that. So it's just really unfortunate. But he's going to be a guest that is going to have a lot of great stories for us. I'm sure he's going to be one that all the listeners will enjoy as well. So good.
Yeah, I hope so. Talk rubbish for a little while and see if I can entertain them.
All right, Olly. Let's go back to 2012 then, where it all started in a Gills shirt. 20-year-old Olly Lee arrived on loan from West Ham. It was for a month. Then it got extended for another month. But you featured for us 8 times. Yeah, talk to us how it came about.
Yeah, well, I remember. I think I'd just been let go. I'd just been told that I could leave West Ham. So it was a bit of a crossroads in my career. It was a funny time. And then they it was Ian Hendon was the reserve manager, and he said, Hess was interested. Go down and train for a bit. So I went down and trained. I think it was a couple of days. Done all right and got signed on loan. And then do you know what? It's funny just talking about it now already. I remember training at Priestford for the first time. I thought, God, what a stadium this is! Like how good this, because it had been a big step up, because I'd been at Dagenham, with all due respect to Dagenham, enjoyed it there, but it was still a smaller club. Whereas I got Gillingham, was like, oh wow, this is proper football. And there were some good players there, like Simon King. I always speak about Simon King. What a player he was! I think he was probably right at the end of his career. That was still. We played Port Vale away one game. Best performance I've ever seen from a centre back. He was just incredible. Like people like that. We had Danny Kedwell up front, like proper man, proper number 9. It was my not first real experience of it, but like proper. You're in it, and it felt like a big club, and we was up there, weren't we? We were trying to get promotion, and it was like, yeah, it was probably at the time it was a bit big for me, and I wasn't quite ready for the step. I think technically I was and stuff like that, but there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of good players about, and you realised what football was going to become. And I think I'd had the knock in my confidence from obviously knowing that I was getting let go, and I was a bit starry-eyed of, what do I go here? Do I do that? Do I do that? So I didn't probably do myself justice then, but I enjoyed it. It was a good spell. Again, another good spell to realise what football is and what it's going to mean and what it's going to take to get to where I want to get to.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, obviously you spoke about Danny Kedwell, Simon King. It was a real team that certainly under Andy that for some reason or not we just could not get promoted.
Yeah.
We missed out by the playoffs twice under him. And that partnership, certainly the year after, of Cody and Bayo, I know. For some reason, what do you put it down to? You speak about obviously the talents of what was in the squad, but for some reason, it just didn't
I don't
click,
know what
did
it was that season, because that season I remember. I think it was so there was like Kingy, there was Joe Martin left back, there was Joe Kafur up front, Keds, there was Charlie Lee, Chris Walpdale. Like I'm probably forgetting a few as well, and it was proper players, like proper players that had championship experience, players that won promotion, really top, like good League One players. And I don't know, for whatever reason, we just couldn't get over the line. Sometimes these things you need a little bit of good fortune, a bit of luck goes on your side. Something ball deflects off, someone goes in, you nick a 1-0, and then confidence grows. So you do need a lot of. Like a lot of people say, football's a funny old game, and you need a lot of things that just quite fall into place and just meant to happen to get you over that line. And I guess they just couldn't quite do that season and in seasons before. But thanks, because I also remember there was like Jake Hessenthaler was there, Bradley Dack coming through. There was Callum Davis, Connor Essam, Jack Evans, a good group of young lads coming through again, who I thought, yeah, these lads are really good. Like, these are really talented. So there was a lot. You could tell there was a lot to look forward to, and it was just putting the pieces all together.
Yeah, because but was there ever, obviously the year after we ended up going to win the league under Martin Allen? Was there ever a conversation with you coming back?
At that point, I don't think there was. No, I don't remember, to be honest. But I did, like I said, I don't think I didn't do great, to be honest, in the 8 games. But I had a couple of good moments, yeah, he's done all right. Like, it was a bit like that, and I think it was not going to be the place for me to really start my career off and really get going. I think it was the right decision to not offer me anything there. I can say that because I wasn't great, and then obviously with like Daki coming through, Hess coming through. They were a couple of years younger than me. You could see why. I will back our own, like as clubs would do, and Daki was probably better anyway. So I'm not surprised. Good decision.
But it not being the most successful loan spell at that point in your career, you just been let go from West Ham. You're still a young player. How much did you take away from the experience as a whole, and how much did it benefit you later on in your career?
Yeah, I think it was great to look back on. Like I said, I was in a tough period. I think that's what people outside of football don't realise, what the players going through and what they're feeling. And West Ham, I'd been there since I was 15, and I thought I was close, and I thought I could get in. And then to get told you're not good enough, that was a hammer blow to me. That was huge. That hit me hard, and it took me a long time to get over that. Whereas it's like, all right, yeah, Gillingham coming, go there, go and perform. I wasn't ready to perform. I wasn't ready to be the player that I could be, because I was getting over what had gone on. You're like, it's like you're heartbroken. You got this dream of, I'm going to play Premier League. All my mates are West Ham fans. I'm going to be the next Mark Noble, Scott Parker. I'm going to do that. And then you're told, no, you're not going to do that. That you're not good enough, or it hits you hard. And I think that's a big thing for me, is helping players understand that that's okay. Like, it takes you time to get over that, rather than being like, right, bang, straight in, go and be a good player. You're not playing well. Why are you not playing?
Do you think, Ollie, do you think, we obviously talk about mental health in football, and for me, I think it's massive for players, that players are not robots. They're human beings at the end of the day. Do you think there should be more in place for players that certainly go through that period like you went through? That
without a doubt, it's a big thing. It's a big thing now for me. I'm on my coaching journey, and it's massive for me. It's probably the biggest strength that I have, I think, is I understand people, and I've got empathy for these players and what they're going through, because I've been through it all, and I've felt it all. And I think there's a lot of people, from fans, from boardrooms, from staff, from coaches, that don't get it and do think, go out and play. Well, yeah, but hold on, my little boy's not very well at the minute, or all these things that are going on, or there's something going on at family. Me and the missus are living apart, or there's so many different variables. If you don't know the person, you're not going to get it, and you're not going to feel it. And it doesn't have to be bad things. It could be good things that are going on, but have distracted you from outside. Or there's so much to it that if you don't understand it, and you're not looking for it, it's easy to find. And us as players will cover it up, and it's always been the way, like, especially like my generation and older, we're sort of like, just get on with it, get your head down, get through it, rub some dirt in it, and get on with it. Like, that's how we were sort of brought up, I think, a lot of people. So it's great that people are starting to talk about it, and I think it can only benefit you, because I know from my personal experience, when I'm happiest off the pitch and when I'm enjoying my football and coming into training every day, I play my best. And that's when that's the only way to play. But it's very hard to find that flow state that a lot of players talk about, a lot of athletes talk about, is being in the zone. And to actually knit all them things together is very tough, because life hits everybody hard, whether you're a footballer, a builder, a doctor, whatever it is. We have our ups and downs, and how we deal with them. We need a support system, and we need help from others. And it's okay to say, yeah, I'm struggling today. I need a bit of help. I need something to help me find the levels I know I'm capable of.
Great. Okay. 7 years passed. Then you went away. You become a real man. You've rejoined in 2019. under Steve Evans, initially on a 6-month loan that ended up turning into a whole season. But yeah, talk to us how it all come about then.
Well, it was a weird time because obviously I went up to Scotland, I went up to Hearts, and I loved it. My first season there, really enjoyed it. I think I played the most games out of anyone up there, and then I fell out with the manager with like a game to go, 2 games to go of the season, and then came back thinking, "Oh, it doesn't matter, like it's water under the bridge." And then I was told I could go. So as soon as it was like that, I was like, "Well, I want to go back home then," because I've had a little boy. He was 1 and a bit at the time. Obviously, Mrs. my wife now had moved up there with me, and it was like, well, I had lots of options in Scotland, thankfully, because I'd done all right, and I had a few other options, but I wanted to be back close to home. All my family's Essex, so Gillingham came up, and I was like, oh, do you know what? It's the ideal thing for 6 months. We'll go from there. We'll see, and we'll see where it leads us, sort of thing. I was quite relaxed by it. I just wanted to be closer to home at that point and have my little boy grow up with his nanny and granddad around and stuff like that. So, and then we had a good season, and it went. And I think the manager at Hearts got sacked in the November, December time, and I didn't hear anything from the other manager. So I was like, brilliant! Like, I want to carry on my loan. So it was very straightforward from then, because no one had said anything otherwise, and I was happy and playing and enjoying, and we were doing well. So it was a no-brainer then to extend it.
Do you think it was an easier choice to make, considering you had been here before, in the sense of, maybe not in the sense of I've been here before, so I'll go back, or more to the point of you were younger back then, maybe you feel like you didn't do your best in your first loans, you thought, well, it's a good opportunity for me to come back here, place I was at years ago, and show how much I've improved as a player and show them a different side like I did before when I was younger?
Yeah, I thought it was a good opportunity. I knew from that spell that Gillingham was a big club, and it was good that I had that experience of it, but it wasn't one that I thought I had to prove people wrong, because it wasn't. It was a spell that I didn't really remember fondly or not fondly from the first one, if you know what I mean. It was just, I was going through something. I was out there playing. I knew I wasn't doing my best, but it wasn't like I had to prove to the Gills fans, oh, I'm decent. It was more, I want to come and play well and show everyone that I'm decent. You're in football, you're always trying to prove people wrong and show how good you are. So it wasn't that I had my back up to do something better. It was just, I want to go and play football. And if that wasn't going to happen in Scotland, I wanted to be closer to home. Gillingham's close to home for me, so let's go and show how good I am here.
Yeah, it's obviously, yeah, Steve likes you. he signed you. He signed you. I think it was he signed you total of 3 times, if you want to say it like that. But yeah, what was it about Steve and the squad that attracted you to you joining on loan for us?
Geography, it was more than anything, to be honest. It was being close to Essex. That was purely my number one focus, was getting my little boy back around his family and back close to, obviously we'd been up the road for the year, and he didn't get to see him as much, and my family didn't get to see him as much. So that was purely it. Gillingham ticked a lot of boxes for that. Like I said, I knew it was a good club, good fan base, good stadium, things like that. Trying to think if I knew any of the boys before. I don't think I really knew. I played like Stu O'Keefe, played him a few times. There was Jordan Graham was there, Carl Dempsey. So I knew there was a decent nucleus. I knew I didn't want to be going to a team that, we're going to get relegated, or it's going to be like, I wanted to go somewhere where I could flourish. But yeah, it was mainly, it was family reasons, to be honest. And that was the number one that my family were happy.
So with Steve, obviously, he's quite a polarising figure, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. I think he's one of those where, if he's not your manager, you probably hate him. If he is your manager, or the manager of the team you support, you probably love him. And I think a lot of us fell into that sort of category when we were here. We were seeing people on social media saying like this, that, and the other about him, but we were like, oh, we love him. We love his passion and his drive. But now he's at another club, like, I hate Steve Evans. You know, is that kind of, what was he like as a day-to-day, man-to-man manager with you personally and the rest of the boys?
Tough question. First season, he was all right. He was cool with me. He let me just get on and play my football, really, and do what I do best. And then, I don't know, after that, we didn't see eye to eye as much, would probably be the best way to put it. And yeah, he's a difficult man to be with day to day.
Yeah. I mean, It's interesting, isn't it? Because we felt that, Ollie, as well. That certainly that first season when you mentioned it a minute ago, where Stewie O'Keefe, Jordan Graham, Carl Dempsey, Verdane Oliver, yourself, Connor Ogilvie, Jack Tucker, Jack Bonham. We had good players. And really, let's go back to the first bit. Was the ambition simply let's try and get into the playoffs?
Yeah, that's what it's funny because we just enjoyed upsetting it for everybody. Like it was, and at that point he just let us get on with it and let us play, because one thing he's good at is seeing a good player.
Yeah,
he knows a good player, he can talk his way around to getting them to sign, and then it's over to you. And we was happy like that. Like if you just let us get on with it, let us play. Like you said, you've just ruled off the whole team there basically, because that's what it was. It was the same 11 near enough every week, and we knew our jobs. We knew what to go and do. Let's just go and do it, and that worked. That worked well for the first year, and the second year, to be fair, we done pretty well too. We were just on the fringes of playoffs. So yeah, it was just it just got hard day to day, putting up with certain antics and certain behaviours that people were like, no, just let us get on, let us play, treat us the way we'd like to be treated, treat people how you'd like to treat others, really. Like that's all my mum always brought me up. So, and it was sometimes not like that.
Yeah, it goes to show as well the quality we had in that season. Like James said, all the players listed off, they've all gone on to better things now. Jordan's obviously in the championship with Birmingham. Kyle scored a goal in the Pepperoni Passion Cup or whatever it was, Bolton, and they're in a position I think where they might be on the outskirts or inside the playoffs in League One, somewhere around there.
They've got a good chance.
Yeah, obviously Connor, I think Portsmouth are a bit too far away now, but I think Connor's continued to impress there as well. So obviously you mentioned the 2 seasons. Those were the sort of players, along with yourself, who were the nucleus of it. And obviously the first season we got to, I think it must have been January, was it? Maybe February. And then obviously the big COVID came along and shut everything down. And we were probably expecting it to be things where, you know, maybe the news are overdoing it and it's a case of it's not as serious as it is. But then it obviously became that it was. And we thought maybe we'll start playing again in a couple of weeks, maybe in a month. Obviously, the Premier League restarted. But for you as a player, when you're in that sort of merry-go-round of not knowing whether you're going to come back or not, and obviously, as it turned out, we didn't that season. It just got cut away. What's the sort of mindset in that time period where you're not really sure if you're going to be coming back to finish the season or whether you're not?
Yeah, it was really weird because I remember me, Stu, Connor used to all drive in together. So I remember hearing the news. I think it broke was it Italy when it first broke? So I remember hearing it. That's crazy. What's going on? Oh, that'll never get to us. And then it was I think we played. Did we play Sunderland? And you weren't allowed to shake hands before the game.
Yeah.
I think was that the last one before it.
Yeah.
And we were like, that'll be it. That was weird, but it won't get us. And then it got us, and then we were like, oh yeah, we was all obviously in the WhatsApp group, Jam of the Sports Science, going, yeah, we'll keep yourselves fit. Gave us work to do. We'll be back in a week, back in 2 weeks. Be back in a month, and then it just kept going on like that, and it was it was a really really odd time for everybody, wasn't it? I mean, it's surreal when you look back now and think what we went through, and we didn't see our family and friends, and we were locked in the house. Like it's crazy to think we'd done that, and games with no fans. Like it was an odd time for everyone.
I think they just in the end they decided with the EFL. I think it was they cut the rest of the games. They did it on points per game, and then all they did was the playoffs, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, that was how it went, wasn't it? And I think that worked out better for us, didn't it? We ended up. I can't remember.
We went up one place.
Yeah, so it worked out right.
Yeah, I mean, during that obviously lockdown period, Ollie, what was it a case that? What did the football club say to you? Was it a case of look? Go and sort of look after yourself, or did they put things on? What was it?
They put loads on at the start. To be fair, that like I said, there was loads of fitness stuff, and Jam was really good like that, and he had us doing certain runs and drills and stuff like that. And then obviously it got to a point where we're like, well, we don't know when we're going to be back, so we can't. It's down to you really. And I think people, like everyone, some people took it as I think you either went one way or the other. You got super fit or you got super fat. It was like. There was no in between. There was nothing you could do. So I went one way, and I was really intense with the run. I got the fittest I've ever been. I was ridiculous with it. So it was like way too intense that way. And then there was other people who just sat down and drank and ate. And I think it was whatever worked for you to keep you going, sort of thing. And that was my routine, was go out in the morning and run and work out and tie myself out for the rest of the day, sort of thing. So yeah, it was just, like I said, it was a really odd time to be in any profession, let alone being a professional footballer, and thinking, oh, when am I preparing for pre-season? When am I going back in? Are we going to have a season? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, yeah. Let's go to the summer of June 2021. Then you finally put pen to paper on a proper contract at the Gills. Yeah, was it a case that you again you felt at home? You were close to home, and you didn't really want to go
Yeah,
anywhere else?
I was close to home. I knew the boys. The boys were all good fun. I enjoyed going in, being around it. So it was a fairly easy. It was that or move my family across the country again to somewhere else. And I was, I would have been 29, 30. It was at a point when I was like, no, I think this will be better for me to be settled rather than move again to then potentially, because always my plan was to get back down south when I wanted to be when my son went to school. So that tied in nicely with that. But even if I'd moved away for, I don't know, Barcelona come in, you're going to take that. But I always wanted to finish my career around Essex, so because that would be my base. And then if I had to go, obviously I thought I was going to play a lot longer than this, so that was always going to be my base. And if I had to travel and do that, that would be okay. So it's not planned out how I thought it was going to go, but yeah, that was the decision. And with the other clubs, it was kind of Gillingham was the one to go to.
Yeah, and obviously we mentioned the COVID season. I suppose it must have been an even weirder experience when you did come back. I think the first game of the season, if the first league game anyway, I remember we played, I think it was Hull, wasn't it? We got beat 2-0 at home, I think. There might have been a league cup, I can't remember. But yeah, you're going out obviously to warm up, and you're going out to change room and come back in. You always get that buzz as a player, I'd assume, of like the crowd's getting pumped up, everyone's ready, and then you walk out and it's sort of just crickets.
Yeah,
What in
it was rubbish. It was rubbish, to be honest. I hated it. Like, it was, it's not the same. Like, the reason you play is for that connection and that feel, that moment you score a goal and you get to dive in the crowd, or the roar of a tackle, or like anything. You're playing because I think everyone plays because of the atmosphere that's built and the occasion and the feeling of it. Without that, there was just something missing. Like, for us players, okay, it was still good because you're still playing football. You're doing the things that you're doing something you love that you've done since a kid, but you do it for, I guess you fill people with pride when you have a moment of scoring a winning goal, or you want that feeling. And without that feeling, it was scoring a goal down the park is still a good feeling, but when you're used to it in front of 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people, and then it's not there, it wasn't quite the same.
How long do you think it took you and the team to sort of acclimatise to
that? Probably a little while. I think it was strange for everyone, and also obviously the way that we played was very intense, very front foot, very get the crowd on side. So I think it hindered us a little bit. I think teams that were more possession based and wanted to build, it was a little bit easier, because if you gave it away passing to your goalkeeper, there's not the crowd groaning, there's not people like that, you don't feel that intensity. You go, oh, all right, yeah, I'll just do it again. It's not. So for us, I guess it hindered it in that sense, because we sort of thrived off the crowd being involved, and we would just pin teams into their half, and then they'd feel that uncomfortable, feel the pressure building, and all of a sudden it's like we said, the amount of goals we scored in the rain event, because it was just like the ball just gets sucked in the goal. We'd just be putting long throws in, corners, crosses. It was the pressure, and it would just break the goal down. It'd have to find a way. I remember, when was it, just before Christmas, when we done Sunderland at home, Connor scored last minute, and the amount of moments we had like that, where it was like, that's just pure pressure. We built it and built it and built it, and for that moment, and then you're jumping in the crowd, and it's that's why you play.
I suppose, in a sense, would be like when you're going to the bigger sides like Ipswich's or Sunderland's or players. Obviously, you scored in that game in the FA Cup against Sunderland, didn't you? I think that's, and obviously, I suppose maybe on the opposite side of the argument, it's probably places like that where there's no one there.
It is, but also we always did well against Sunderland, to be fair, but they were the games for us where you want to go and play Stadium of Light, you want to play Port, you want it to be packed out, because they're the ones you dream about as a kid, because so you're watching Sunderland and Ipswich in the Premier League as a kid growing up, you're like, yeah, I want to score there, I want to do that, and I'm a Newcastle fan, so scoring at Stadium Light, I was thinking, I'm knee sliding in the crowd, I'm going to milk the life out of this. And then when there's not the crowd there, it was still great, and it's still something that I can say I scored there, but it's with that little bit of tinge of, I wish I could have milked it a bit more and enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's reverse back to June 2021, and it was a bit of frustrating season, wasn't it, Ollie? Where we'd just done so well during lockdown, and I really do think with that squad, had the crowd been there, we might have even creeped into the playoffs.
Yeah, no one would have wanted players, and we did used to say that we was horrible to play against. Teams didn't want to play against us, and we was in a rhythm. Like I said, we just knew our jobs, we knew what we were doing, and they're the best teams that you play in is when everyone knows what we're going to do. Yes, we were very direct in it. Obviously, that's not my preferred style of play the way it did, but it worked because everyone knew their jobs, and then I could float around and drop down on things and maybe find a pass or hit a shot. Them little things that we sort of all knitted together there. So I think, like, I always think of MK Dons, obviously they're a brilliant side, possession side, and I remember that we smashed them. We were like, yeah, brilliant. Like, the more you want the ball, that it plays into our hands.
Yeah, played it right into our hands. I remember that night.
Yeah,
I think
we just enjoyed spoiling people's parties. Really,
didn't we nick 3 goals that night just
from
the sheer weight of them giving the ball away.
Possession, made 1,000 passes, and we were 1-0 down after 30 seconds as well. Remember that? They scored 50 passes or something and scored, and then we won 3-1. And that's just what we were like. We weren't pretty, but we were effective, and we'd have players step up at moments and show a bit of quality or a bit of magic, or, like we said, force the ball into the goal by sheer pressure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, during the summer of 2021, it then started going a little bit peaked on. I remember Connor leaving.
Yeah, he was a big loss. I think people underestimate how big a loss he was.
I think we lost. Didn't we lose during that summer? We lost Connor, Kyle, and Jordan.
Yeah,
all in that summer.
Kyle went in the January, didn't he? But Jordan went, and no, V was still there, wasn't he? Yeah. So Jordan and Connor, but Connor was massive because he could play centre back, he could play left back, and he was quiet, but he just got on with his job. He'd head everything, and then he'd nick us a goal at the other end. So he was I think we spoke about it before, actually, that he was a big loss for us because he just got what Gillingham was. He got on with his job. He was kind of the unsung hero that, well, I suppose he ended up getting quite applauded because he'd nick a last-minute goal and stuff like that. But he would just head everything away and then head or volley everything in your net. Like, it was a good knack to have. So he was a big miss, and he was one that we probably didn't quite replace.
Yeah, because you spoke about it, not much in length, but you spoke about like the antics and the way Steve ended up being. We saw it from fans that certainly in interviews throughout that season, he was always going at Scally all the time in press conferences and whatever else, or never directly, but it always used to be sort of comments and whatever else. As players, was it difficult to deal with?
Yeah, it drove me mad. I won't go into the deep, but it was not right, and had a huge effect on everything that was going on in the team, because we wasn't the worst 4 teams in the league last year, and it still annoys me now that we got relegated like that. That drives me mad because it shouldn't have happened, and it was not all due to footballing reasons, which is even more frustrating as a player, because I don't care what's going on behind the scenes. I want to play football, and that was our job. That's what we do. Like, so for stuff to come away from the football was frustrating for players massively.
Yeah, because obviously that season, you say we weren't the worst 4 in the division. I didn't really think we were either, especially once Neil came in. You saw an instant response.
You saw more of the true colours when when the gaffer came in now, and he just set us up right, and we was tough to beat, and we again it frustrates me because we should have, could have, would have, but like we felt we had enough to stay out. We just made a fist of it. If we'd had maybe a month longer with the gaffer, or who knows what could have happened.
Well, see, just before obviously Neil came in, obviously he came in at just maybe a bit later than would have been ideal. Obviously, he only got 1 day of the transfer window as well, which obviously for him wasn't very helpful. Although he got a great player in Ben Thompson, but obviously lost Kyle on the same day as well. What was the morale like in between, sort of just before Steve left, and obviously the wait to get Neil in, and obviously given where we were at the table?
Yeah, well, I think obviously Neil coming in lifted everyone. It was like it's a championship manager coming in. It's a proper football guy who knows what he's. Well, we felt knows what how he's going to set us up, how it's going to be, what we were sort of crying out for, and I think he's obviously turned out to be a good appointment. And I think the boys will kick on next season with him in charge, because he's first and foremost, he's a good bloke, and he looks out for his players, and he's been brilliant with me, and I take people off face value, and he's been really good. Obviously, with everything that's gone on with me, it's not been ideal, and it's been a strange thing for me to manage and for him to manage a player going through it. I think he's been really good, and so I can't speak highly enough of him from that aspect.
You speak about obviously if buts and maybes. Obviously, there was some results when he came in, which were results we wouldn't have got earlier on in the season. I remember we went to Accrington and won 2-0. We won at Lincoln as well in that period. Obviously, just before when we had Steve Havelflat period, I think we had that 7-2 to Oxford, didn't we? Which I think is something I've seen before. I don't really want to see again. But obviously, as you said, it was ifs, buts and maybes. Maybe if you're putting it down to a certain game, I think it was the penultimate game, the one at Cheltenham, where we were ahead twice, got pegged back twice, and had to set off. But then
that one and Fleetwood at home, I think they're ones that sit with us that we could have won. Probably could have lost though as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so easy to look back on and say, "Oh, I wish I'd just done this or just this happened." But that's football. That is what happens, and what happened. It was very hard to accept the actual relegation. I think me personally, I found that very tough. Because I was so frustrated with it all. I didn't feel we were the worst team, and it didn't. In football they always say, "Oh, you get what you deserve." I didn't feel like we did. I felt like we should have just nicked that point, that extra couple of goals or something, just to stay up, and then we could have reset properly and done that. And I think, it still grinds. I don't know if you can tell, it still grinds on me a little bit now that it just, it wasn't. I didn't feel it was meant to end that way, but it did, and it's a learning curve for everyone involved. And obviously, I think there was a bit of a hangover this season from it, but hopefully after putting this season to bed, the boys will. I really do think they'll kick on next season, and they'll be a force to reckon with.
We're definitely unlucky in the sense that I know fixtures are fixtures. You've got to play everyone twice, but you really couldn't have asked for a worse game on the last day of the season, could you? Than Rother and Nick.
Exactly, and they were a very good side, and they were strong all over and quick all over, and they knew their jobs, and going back to they knew their jobs. You could tell on the pitch that all their players knew. We were sort of huffing and puffing and hoping something came off and something would fall to someone, and rather than them, you always felt like they could kick on a gear, like they could punish you when it needs to be punished, like all promotion teams do. I've been in them myself, where even when you're playing poorly, someone's going to pop up with something, and we maybe didn't quite have that. But obviously, if you look at the season from January to the end of the season, I think we was comfortably mid-table on form and things like that, and that's where we should have been. That's what it should have been, with a little bit more, a few more weeks behind us. Who knows?
Yeah, because Ollie, you speak about the man, Neil Harris. He's a class act in our opinion. Certainly in my opinion, I think he's a brilliant bloke, and he's come under some at times unwarranted criticism. Certainly when we're playing well. You speak about the man management side of Neil, but do you feel he is the man to lead Gills back to League One?
Yeah, without doubt. He looks after people, and that's very important Well, for me personally, is I wish I could have repaid him by getting back on the pitch. That's what I wanted to do. That was my goal, because I wanted to, like football, you always want to show how good you are, like I've said, and I wanted that opportunity to do it and repay the faith, because he gave me time off when he probably didn't need to, and we were struggling and things were going right. He probably thought, I could do it, just get Ollie out there, like just see what and he never put me under any pressure to do that. And at that point in time, that's what I needed. And so I really appreciate that from him, that it wasn't like that, and that's why I think they'll succeed. And I mean, he's obviously managed at a higher level and he's experienced, and I think now with a bit of backing, and as they've shown in January, recruiting the right people, I think the club will be right up there next season.
I think it says a lot about how much he cares about the club as well, because there's definitely been, I know someone asked him about this at one of the fans forums that was done recently, you know, at the end of last season, he could well have gone and thought, well, I tried to keep him up, didn't happen, I'll go on to something else after the relegation. This season, you know, midway through, just before the takeover, he could have looked at it and thought, well, we're bottom of the table, maybe I'll cut my losses and move on, which you have seen with managers in the past. But he stuck it out. He's always, and you listen to his press conferences, he's always maintained that he wanted to stay and he wanted to put things right. And obviously, with this new ownership and the investment that's given to him in January, I think you've seen the proof is in the pudding, isn't it, really, with the new players that have come in, the difference they've made under his managership. And as you were saying earlier about the table from January to the end of the season last year, where we would have been, I think at the minute it would have us, I think, third or fourth. So it shows a dramatic change. Over.
Yeah, that's it. Like the gaffer tactically sets his teams up really well. So I think at the end of the day, in football, money talks, and whether people like it or not, yes, you can do stuff on a shoestring budget, as shown throughout the history of football. But also, it helps when you've got people that can put the ball in the net, and you can give everyone else that confidence around that. Oh, as long as we keep a clean sheet, we can nick a goal, and then you see players' confidence grow, and you see more come out, and like you're seeing better performances and better results from the boys now, because they've got maybe a little bit more at the top end, where we're able to score a few more goals or nick something from a set piece, which maybe wasn't quite happening before. Now you can go, all right, we can score, and we know we can defend, because defensively they've been decent all season. So it's a good combination to have if you can nick. And I'm sure there's a lot that the gaffer wants to work on and improve, as I know what kind of bloke he is, that he always wants more. But I think it's a good, you're in a good place now to build, hopefully with a good recruitment drive in the summer on for next season. And who knows what can happen then. Like I said, when we were talking before, I think it'll be a tough league next season, maybe tougher than what it is this season with the teams coming up. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes and how we build on the good spell that we've had since January.
Yeah, I mean, Ollie, obviously we come to the summer then. Summer just gone. I remember actually you scoring a penalty Folkestone back in pre-season. Nice hot day in Folkestone. But yeah, it was a weird summer, wasn't it, in terms of recruitment? Just didn't feel sort of right. It was just
I felt the same.
It was sort of a weird vibe coming from the team and Neil and whatever. How was you feeling?
Yeah, weird. I wasn't, obviously when we got relegated, my mind straight was like, right, we're going to get promoted, we're going to win the league. This is going to be where we're at. And I've got out of that league before, so I was like, once we'd done pre-season, I was thinking, yeah, this could be good. Like we can have a good season of winning games, and there's no whatever relevant at what level it is. You want to win games, and then yeah, it was I don't know. Yeah, there was a weird feeling, like you said, I guess, that we needed, without being disrespectful to any player, I would never want to do that. I wanted to see someone come in who were like, yeah, we can hang that. And like when I got promoted with Luton, we had Danny Hilton up front, and we had James Collins up front, and I think that changes things. So like I said, you can have League Two is a slog, and there's going to be games where you don't play well and you're not as fluid. You need someone that can pop up with something and be the man. And I didn't think we quite found that, which hopefully that you found now with Ollie Hawkins doing well and Nico, who I crossed over with Tom Nichols for 2 weeks, and I was impressed. He was a player that I was like, oh, I'd love playing with you. I would have enjoyed that, because he's intelligent and he's smart. And I think if you had that from the start of the season, then like you said, the form guide shows what could have happened.
Yeah, yeah. It was weird, wasn't it? Because Neil, the season started, we just could not buy a win. We couldn't even really score a goal. It was a disaster. But then the cup games, we were beating Prem sides, and it was all very strange, wasn't it? I suppose you feel that when it comes to the cup games, the reins were released a little bit, the pressure was released.
Yeah, I think the pressure was relieved. I think it's sometimes a lot easier when you're the big underdog and you've got nothing to lose and you can just park the bus and do that. And I think a lot of managers talking about parking, it is easier to set a team up to defend and to stop score and to destroy rather than then being fluid. And I took a lot of that pressure on my shoulders because obviously that would have been my role in the team, was to create and to score, chip in with goals. And I don't know what I played. I must have played 5 games this season or something like that. It wasn't many. And
yeah,
so when the team weren't scoring, I was sat at home like it was killing me, because I could have helped, and I know I could have helped. I could have, well, a fully fit Olly Lee could have helped. The state I was in, I wouldn't have helped anyone. But having that, if I could have been able to do what I could have done, I think I would have been a big help to the team. And we maybe, we could have scored a few more goals. And like I said, even if you're nicking a 1-0, you start getting a bit of belief. Or even if we could have got a penalty and we've scored from that, and then people start believing a bit more, because that's what it needed. And I guess in pre-season, I remember we played Palace and stuff like that. We didn't feel like we were miles away from it. But for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And then the longer that goes in football, it's hard to turn the tide, because you're just like, you're going into a game, are we going to score, or are we going to score? And then if we concede, you feel the whole place go flat. I remember watching the games and we concede, and then the fans would go, right, well, we can't score 2, so can't even score 1, so how are we going to score 2? And that's what it felt like. So we didn't quite have the firepower to get you, to help you build that confidence. And that was unfortunate. And that was, it was the hard part for me, because I felt like I know I wouldn't have been the 20-goal man, but I felt I could be a threat and I could do something which I know I'd done previously in League One. And that was a tough period. It's been a long, tough period for me, and that was part of it.
So around the time, obviously, you mentioned you only played around 5 games. One of them was obviously at Molineux. Well, I think you came on as a substitute, didn't you, in the Wolves game? Yeah. So that was a great experience, at least for that year. But obviously, just after that is when things started to change. We were on social media hearing like murmurs here and there, but with Gillingham and takeovers, it's sort of things we've heard in and out for the last few years, and nothing's really materialised from it. So naturally, when it came about this time, we took it with a pinch of salt, as we have done before, because we know it hasn't worked out. But obviously this time, and thankfully it did, Brad and Shannon Gallinson came in to take over the club. I think we must have been bottom at the time and still in the same poor form of not being able to win or score a goal. But as a player, when you sort of hear that, do you see those rumours on Twitter or social media, things like that, or do you
heard bits and pieces? Yeah, but we, like yourselves, we'd heard it for ages, so we all took it with a pinch of salt. We waited to see what would happen, and I think they'd been in once or twice, but obviously I wasn't around the training ground for quite a substantial period, so I was more oblivious than others to what was going on. I didn't get to meet them, things like that. So I didn't know, but then obviously what it going for, that's what it needed, and we'd been saying in house that the club needed a lift. It needed a bit of love now, because it's such a good club, such a great catchment area for bringing players in, for a fan base, for everything. It ticks so many boxes. It just needs a bit of love, and thankfully, it's getting that bit of love that it needs. And I do think that it can get back up to where Gillingham should be, with that bit of love, with that bit of investment, with the right people in the right places, and creating the right culture. I think it can be back where the club belongs, but it may be a longer journey than fans would like it to be. Obviously, football fans are very impatient and they want everything now and want it done. But I think with the building blocks being put in place, I think the only way it's going to go is up now. And it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting from an outside looking in now of how high Gillingham can go and just how far the gaffer and the owners can take the club.
Ollie, I think it's important, though, that we speak about the reason that you had to unfortunately retire early from football. Just tell people the term that you've the condition.
Psoriatic arthritis. So
yeah.
I don't know if people have heard it. Psoriasis is like you get like rash on your skin, sort of like eczema. So I've had that since I was a kid. Really, my family have got it, but then in the last year, it found its way into my joints. So moving, running around, I was never the fastest anyway, as you will know. So then moving, running around, and taking contact became like a little shoulder bar. Just would become agony for me, and it would be so you're tentative. You want to stay away from a challenge or do stuff like that. And I was never a big tackler either, but I got stuck in and I was about it, and I tried to poke things and put my body in the way, and it became too painful. And then I've got Raynaud's condition, which is so your hands and your feet. So it's all the blood runs to my heart, but comes away from my hands and my feet. So my touch would become even worse because I can't feel my feet anymore. So
wow.
that became a real problem. So it's like imagining your feet are in an ice bath, but I'm trying to play football as I'm doing it. And so it was the combination of them both. So it's like a mixed connective tissue disorder, it's called. So it's an autoimmune disease. It's loads of scientific rambling.
Tell us when it first sort of come to your attention that it was a problem, and yeah, from there, what was sort of the timeline to when
so
eventually you stopped?
About a year ago, really. So during the from January when the gaffer come in, I'd had bits and bobs going on. So I'd always it got to a point I'd have to soak my feet in hot water before every game just to get some feeling in them. And then the hand warmers you can get that you scrunch up in your hand and do that. So I was playing with them in my boots just to try and feel my toes and feel my feet. And it was so obviously that was not ideal. I was wearing like 2 pairs of socks. I was doing anything to try and get a bit of feel. And at this point I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew something wasn't right. And then as we progressed, I thought, maybe I don't know what it was. I didn't know what was going on. Then I ended up getting I take weekly injections now of methotrexate to dumb the pain down a little bit for what I've been in. And then so come start pre-season, I came back thinking, right, I'm going to give it everything I've got. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I'm going to get through it. And pre-season, I felt terrible, and I was just getting through. And the gaffer, like, obviously, I scored a few goals in pre-season. I remember Crystal Palace game. Obviously, I scored 2, but at half time I wanted to come off. I was desperate to come off. I didn't say anything to the manager. He knew because he'd seen me like putting my feet in hot water before a game at the back end of last season and stuff. And he was like, "What are you doing?" Like, weirdo. And I was just like, I've got this stuff going on, but never went in depth with him. So he never really knew what I was dealing with. And I remember, Palace at half time, I was like, in my head, I'm just like, just come off, like, just tell him. And then obviously played on, done all right, scored a couple of goals. But even then, I knew I felt terrible. I couldn't get close to people. I couldn't run around. I was like, maybe they're Premier League players. Like, they're quicker, faster, stronger anyway. Then you play in other games. I'm like, there's young lads in training running past. I'm like, nah, that's not it. And then I had, do you remember we played Charlton away in the Papa John's and I've never wanted to come off a pitch so much in my whole career. Like, Gaffer took me off after 60 minutes or something. I was delighted, and that's never been me. I'm usually raging coming off, and I just wanted off because there was a moment in the first half, and I can remember it so clearly that they'd attacked us, and I don't know who it was, a young lad for Charlton in the midfield. He ran off me that way, and then we counter-attacked, and I saw the ball going wide. And I'm like, like that would be my moment. I'm getting in the box, I'm running. And I just remember going, I can't make that run. I can't do it. And so then I had that thought in my head, and then I've probably got to the edge of the box, like not as high up as I'd want. And the rest of the game just passed me by after that. And the gaffer went mad at me after the game, and he was like, your head's in the clouds, what you doing? Like, you're miles off it. And the next day I was first into the training ground. I went and I pulled him and I said, like, Gaffer, you're completely right. Like, my head is in the clouds, but it's not for whatever reason you think it is. It's because my body's just breaking down at the minute. My body's not doing what I want it to do. I can't move how I want to move. I can't do the things that were so easy to me before. It was natural. Yeah, run box to box. That's cool. Like, nip in front of him, nick the ball, win your second ball. couldn't do anything. I didn't want anyone to touch me. It was just agony. Like for the last however long, I wasn't able to do gym. I couldn't do one press up because my wrists would hurt too much for the pressure, like bending your wrists.
Wow.
There was just loads of stuff going on that people didn't know about. And again, as footballers, like in the relegation round, I just wanted to play. I just wanted to be out there. I wanted to help the team. I wanted to try and keep us up. And then you're going into a new season. Like I said, I thought, oh, we'll be up there. Like things will be all right. I'll be able to get through. It's League Two. I can score a few goals. I'll get that good feeling back. And it just got worse and worse. And it just kept dragging me down. So when I spoke to him at Charlton, he was like, right, what do you want to do? So I had 2 weeks off, and I had a bit of time, got the medication right. So then I was taking injections every week, and I was taking 6 tablets a day, trying to get through training. And that's what all I was doing, was getting through training. So I'd take all this medication to play 5 out of 10, to be out there, but not being able to affect anything, not being able to do anything. I was a body. And I'm quite a proud person like that. I wanted to be the man for it. I wanted to be able to I wanted to show, yeah, I'm really good for League Two. I know I'm good for this level. I know what I can do. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what was so easy for me, what I've been doing since I was a kid. I couldn't move that way. I couldn't take the contact. I couldn't do the things that were easy. And it drove me mad. And I think mentally it killed me, because I knew, my head knew what I had to offer. My body, because there'd still be things, we do technical drills, and I could be all right because I could ping balls about still, and I could finish, and because I didn't have to raise my heart rate, I didn't have to get the blood away from my body, I didn't have to get contact with someone. And then those days were, if anything, were worse for me, because I could, oh yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Like, but I was always technically good. I'm still technically good now. I can do that, but get me to run around and win a second ball and challenge with a bit, I can't, because like you spoke about the Wolves game. The Wolves game was awful for me because I played 20 minutes and it felt like I'd been hit by a bus for the next 3 days after it. And that was like when I really knew, like, I can't carry on like this. So again, the gaffer put me on the bench just to be a body again, just to be around it, to make the bench look a little bit stronger, because we were down to bare minimum then. And then, put me on. And again, great experience. Like you said, it was nice to be out there, but for 3 days after, I felt terrible. My shoulders aching, my knees, my ankle, because it's literally every joint gets sore. So that was when I was like, there's no way I can carry on. And obviously it's a horrible decision to make, and it's not something that I came to lightly. After I had that break from Charlton, I came back into training, and then I actually had a heart scare that nobody knows about. So I had, we were training the lads that hadn't played, and we did a 5-a-side, and I was sprinting, and I just had to fall over basically on the side of the pitch, like on all fours. Couldn't catch my breath. My heart was racing out my chest. I had my watch on, and my watch was going crazy, the beats per minute. So I went to A&E, and they basically, like, long story short, they said, because I was on steroids as well at the time, was one of the tablets, that a virus had found its way into my heart. And so it could have been quite dangerous, but it wasn't. It was fine. I had all the tests. Then I had another 2 weeks off because I had a heart rate monitor fitted for 2 weeks, 2 weeks solid, where I couldn't do any exercise or anything, but just had to check that the rhythm was right, the beats were right, the heart was pumping blood round the right way. So that was another 2 weeks back, and I'd like, right, okay, this is another freak thing that's happened. So it'll be okay. Everything will be good now. I'll get back. Then tried to come back. Obviously, I had to get fit again because I'd missed 6 weeks now. So it's doing a pre-season again. The whole time I'm doing this running, my feet are killing, my hands are killing, and I'm trying to. At that point, I was trying to be like, no, I'm getting back. Like, I don't want to tell people what's going on. I'm just getting on with it. I don't want to speak about it. I want to just play. I want to put myself, because obviously we were struggling as well, and I wanted to help. I felt so guilty that I couldn't help. And I was trying to get to that point, and then it was just, the more you're doing it, the more things were getting worse, to be honest. It was the mental turmoil that a lot of the things, some of the medication, the side effects were like depression and things like that. So you start going through. Wow. I had a really tough period before Christmas where yeah, it was hard. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do certain things. I've not really spoke about it before, to be honest. I think the gaffer knew what was going on at that point, because it was really tough. And then you get into the point where I can't do this. I can't just keep trying to keep on, but not doing myself any justice, not doing the lads any justice, not doing the club any justice. So I had to make the decision that I'm still struggling to accept at the minute, to be honest, because you have days where, oh, my body feels okay. Maybe I could come back. Maybe I can do it. And you can't. You can't. Like, I went out. I tried to go for a run this morning. I can't feel my feet. So it's like, I can't do the normal things that used to be so easy, and it does hurt. It has been a really painful journey that I'm still going through. But thankfully, I took up coaching more seriously 2 years ago, before any of this happened, and sort of fell in love with it and found my passion for that. And that's been brilliant to keep me going and to keep me getting my buzz of football still, but not having to be in agony after it, or not having to have them jewels that usually you could be in but not come out. And then, yeah, like I said, the pride factor comes in, that you just can't do what used to be easy. Like, coming into this season, I was thinking, I'm going to be top player. I want to win player of the year. I want to get team of the season. I want to do all these things. I can't run. Run. So I just think you realise in life these things are sent to test you, and then it's how you can react to it and how can you bounce back. And that's what I'm trying to bounce back at the minute, and trying to find my path and find the reason. I think in 5 years' time, this might be the best thing that's ever happened to me. But right now,
doesn't feel that way.
Oh, it doesn't feel that way at all.
No, I think this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast so badly with you, Ollie, because you like you just said that you've never spoken about it before in public. This is the first time that you've ever sat down, certainly with a podcast, to our knowledge.
Yeah, no, it is the first time I spoke to. I didn't know if I was going to talk about it today, to be honest, but then it sort of come up, and it's something that I want to build into, having the courage to talk about these things, to talk about the days I didn't want to get out of bed, and I couldn't, and I've got 2 young kids, and I didn't want to get out of bed. They got me through it. They've got me through it. Are getting me through it, because I don't want to let them down, and I want to be someone they're proud of. But in football, your whole life is validated by what you do on Saturday, and it shouldn't be that way, because we're more than footballers. But for me, since I was 15, that's been my way. Is if we win on a Saturday and I do well, brilliant, life's great. If we lose, I'm rubbish. This is the worst time ever, and it'll beat me up until the next training session or the next game comes around. And that's been hard. So Saturday at 3:00's a nightmare time for me at the minute. It's like your body kicks into gear and it knows it's game time and you should be there. And then I try and not watch the results come in, but then I'm checking my phone and what's the team, how they're getting on, and it's torture. It's real torture. And I think all players that retire have to go through it. But obviously I was one of them players that I never relied on pace. And I thought I was going to play till I'm late 30s, 40. That was my goal. Was my dad played till he was 40. So my goal was to beat him at whatever level. That's what I wanted to do. So to be taken short 9-10 years is hard for me mentally to deal with at the minute, because I'm like, no, I can still do it. I should still be scoring goals. I should still be fighting for promotions. There was more left in the tank. And I know there was more left in the tank in my mind, but my body had other plans for me.
Yeah.
And any discussions towards perhaps the end of the season? Because when we heard the news about your unfortunate retirement, we all liked the idea of you being, paraded around the pitch, like maybe the last home game or anything like that. I'm sure that's something that everyone would like to happen and like to see. Or has that been something?
No, I haven't heard anything, if I'm honest. That would be amazing. That would be. I didn't know stuff like that was going on. That would be a lovely thing to be part of, for sure. But no, it's not anything I've heard of. And like I said, Neil's been brilliant to me. So it's not something that I would be chasing up if it was something the club wanted to do.
Yeah, it was asked at the fans forum. It was asked at the fans forum. One of the fans asked.
Oh, was it? That's amazing.
One of the last fans forum that happened the other month, one of the fans had said, Is there any chance we can get Olly Lee back to give a goodbye and a round of applause for everything you've done for us? And the football club did say that they would be in contact with you at some point to get you back.
So maybe that'll come. Like I said, it's not something I'm pushing towards, but I'm so grateful for that from the fans, because like the messages I got when I put the statement out there and things like that were, they blew me away, to be honest. It wasn't expected. I said it's been something that I think people don't say enough to people as you're doing it. Like, I wish someone had said during my career, "Oh, what a great player you were," or "What a great person you are," and all these things, because you don't say it enough to people. And it's been a big thing for me now. Is I look back at their messages all the time, because it gives you that little boost you need when you're feeling a bit down. Oh, yeah, people valued what I did, and people enjoyed what I tried to offer and tried to do, and it meant the world to me, to be honest. It was really overwhelming couple of days reading through the messages and taking it all on board. The small part you played in people's lives and experiences, and people saying they had memories of this goal and that goal. And when you're in it as a player, you're sort of oblivious to it, and you're like, yeah, I scored, right, but we've got a game Tuesday, so I've got to think of that. And now when you're getting the nice messages and people saying how they celebrate and how they made them feel, and that's what I'm in it for. Like I've said, that it's football. I play it for that connection, for that moment between players and fans, that everyone wants to be part of something, and you've just created something, that last minute winner or that goal, and everyone's celebrating the same reason. There's no better feeling, and that's the feeling that I'm missing like crazy, to be honest. That coaching gives you a buzz, but not the same buzz as when you're the man doing it and you're stepping up and having that moment.
I'm sure, obviously, we massively appreciate the detail you've gone into regarding the reason you have to give up football. I'm sure a lot of fans, when they read the statement about your retirement, they would have looked at it and felt really upset about it. They might not have been too sure about what the actual condition was. Like I wasn't initially when I first heard it, and obviously you further explained it today. So it will give fans a lot better perspective of what's really going on, have a lot greater understanding, and I'm sure that the fact that you've been brave enough to come and speak about it and all the struggles tonight will just even add to the massive admiration all the Gills fans have for you already. It's
it's very kind. That's the thing, because to be honest, I didn't know what was going on with my body either. I knew it wasn't working. So it was only in 6 months I've like properly diagnosed with something, and then trying to reach out, trying to find athletes that had been through it. There was not very many. There's a couple of guys that have reached out and have helped me out and gave me a little bit of advice, which has been great. Just to know someone's in the same boat. And I would say the same, if people are struggling with Raynaud's or arthritis of any kind, then don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I'm by no means an expert in it, but I can tell you how I've felt and the things that I've gone through and the medications I've taken that might help a little bit. You just don't know. I think I'm finding out with these autoimmune disease that it's very much each to their own. It's very much what works for your body. And I'm still exploring what works for my body. And I still have good days and bad days, and reacts to this. Like my missus has got me on, I'm drinking celery juice every morning now and things like that. And just trying to get something so you feel good. It seems to be working. So I'm sort of going with it. You have to explore and trial and error. And it's a lot of frustration, a lot of knockbacks, but you can only keep going, because at the end of the day you want to feel better, and I want to be able to run around, and I'm not going to be able to do the 5K times I used to do and things like that, but I want to be able to. I'm an active person, I always have been, and I'm determined that that's what I will be. And I'm getting back there, and I've been going on runs, and I've been going on longer walks, and I've been doing a little bit at the gym, which I couldn't do 6 months, a year ago. So that's a positive, but I think there's still a way to go. But I'm always, at the minute now, I'm trying to look on the positive side and trying to find the good and find right, I've been dealt this hand. What's going to be the reason? What am I going to make the outcome? Because you can sit around and you can, oh, woe is me, and everything's bad, or you can get up and go again and see what else gives you that passion and like I said, thankfully for me, coaching, I've found that passion, and I love helping people and trying to improve players and find ways that what makes them tick and how can I get the best out of them. So I am very, very lucky that I found that, because I don't know where I would have been without it. And that's, again, all players coming to retirement.
You can see yourself back at Gills one day in the coaching?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I want to be a manager one day. My goal is to be a Premier League manager. I always set my goal very high and try and go after it. So who knows what could happen? But yeah, I don't see why not.
Well, you and Elliot could turn into the Cowley brothers.
You never know. You never know what could happen in this world. So yeah, like I said, I think in 5 years' time, it could be the best thing that's happened to me, because it's helping me get ahead on my coaching journey. I thought I had a bit more to give playing, though, unfortunately.
No, excellent. Okay, no, Ollie, you've been brilliant this afternoon. Thank you ever so much for letting us into the insight into your mind and how you're doing and obviously the condition and your career and yeah, on behalf of everyone at the podcast, we wish you all the best for your coaching career and thank you very much for representing Gills over 100 times and we wish it could have been more, but
so do I, mate. So do I.
Hopefully we can see you back at the football club in another aspect one day.
Yeah, no, who knows what the future holds, and thank you very much for having me on. Like I said, it was great to have played for Gills so many times, and like we said, I would loved it to be in a few more times. I thought it was going to be a few more times, but not to be. But all good experiences and all learning that I'm going to take with me now to hopefully be the best coach I can possibly be and the best manager I can possibly be.
Excellent way to round it off. Thank you for watching the ME7 podcast. You've been listening to Olly Lee this afternoon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.